Hello and welcome to BuyRightAdvocates. My name's Nicholas Zermis, your guide to buying property, and the website is BuyRightAdvocates.homes. Now, who am I and why should you listen to me? I suppose the first question most people should be asking. I'm an ex-financial planner and now I'm a licensed real estate agent in both Queensland and Victoria. And I bring a lot of experience to the table. Have done lots of things in property, including subdivisions. Back in the 80s, because I'm old, or late early 90s, I sold land subdivisions, homeland and packages. Been through the building process many times. In the middle of a redo at the moment. So I've had a lot of experience actually in the game, and I've been a real estate agent in a prior life before I was a financial planner. But as a financial planner, it brings a new perspective to, how you view things in the world, particularly being, very much up to date with, changes in rules and laws and how different things affect an investment, like, even home insurance, for example, which has gone through the roof. You want to take all the different things into account so that you're fully educated. And that's my job, to provide educated investment, well, not sort of investment advice, but educated advice around investing in property, or the things that you need to take into consideration. As a financial planner, we look at lots and lots of different things that are involved in allocation of funds. So that's who I am, and if you see any value in that, keep going. If not, you can take off now, that's fine. But here we go with this webinar. So the first question you want to ask is, why invest in property? And I really want you to ask that question. Why would you invest in property? I mean, there's so many other things that you can invest in. You can invest in gold, in crypto, the share markets, exchange traded funds. You can invest in commodities, all sorts of different things you can invest in. Why invest in property? And that's the title of the webinar, I suppose. It's something that you should be thinking about. If you're thinking about buying a property, why? Why are you doing it? Well, there's 10 things that I can think of with property. And the first one is leverage. It's real estate. It's a residence. It has capital growth. It's an investment. It produces income. It has depreciation and tax benefits. Downsizing accommodation. Now, that's what I'm interested in, because unfortunately the years have crept up on me and I'm at the stage where I'm downsizing, so I'm preparing for that. And that's why I'm doing the reno, to prepare for that, because at some point everyone is going to have to retire because of age or circumstances or whatever it is. So downsizing, we've been through. We recently sold mother-in-law's house in somewhere where she lived for 45 years. So we had to go through quite a bit with downsizing, and good experience there. I'm also in the middle of doing something for myself, and that's one of the markets that I'm interested in, because that's me. So if you want to downsize here, you want to downsize in Queensland, remember I'm a licensed real estate agent in both Victoria and in Queensland. You want to move up there, you want to invest up there in Queensland, and there's lots of different areas that you can do. Or you want to downsize over here on the peninsula. I work in southeast Melbourne and on the peninsula. Very happy. If you want to book a call, go to BuyRightAdvocates.homes. Remember, it's .homes, and you can book a call there. Happy to assist, and we have a free 15-minute chat, see whether we fit each other or we can work together. Now, the other thing is estate planning. So assets other than superannuation are willable. And, when you have an estate, the most important thing is, the house, the real estate. So that's looking at it, long term. You might want to build a bit of an empire. you know, an investment portfolio or whatever, that's going to produce your estate, and that estate will look after your children and your grandchildren and so forth, depending on how you do your estate planning. And then, of course, the government incentives. Now, there are government incentives for downsizing for first home buyers, and there's your ability to save through super and all those sorts of things, which are also important. So anyway, these are the 10 things. So let's go through them. Leverage. Now, that's important, and that means that you can borrow at the lowest rate of interest with property as security, and that's true. Out of everything else that you can borrow against, you get the lowest rate of interest on a property loan. You have banks and you have other lenders, not banks. You can access more finance options through a mortgage broker, and we have mortgage brokers on our panel of preferred suppliers. Use of mortgage insurance can be useful. So with this point, what I'm saying is that people don't want to pay mortgage insurance, which means they come up with a 20% deposit. Now, you might have that 20% deposit, but you can't borrow for renovations. So you'd be better off paying the mortgage insurance and keeping your extra cash to do renos. So there's a tip for you. But your mortgage broker is going to know all of that when you go and see them, and you can decide whether or not that mortgage insurance is going to help you in your overall, end result with the product. If you want to renovate it, you want to add a bedroom, or you want to do something, and you've got the cash, but if you spend it, you're going to have to pay for the mortgage insurance. Okay, so government incentives such as saving through super, they're available, so that if you want to be a long-term, saver and do that through superannuation, which is a better environment to save in, and has lots of options, and investment is easy through there. And there's also grants that vary from state to state. So you can leverage, and you can also use, your super to purchase and do all sorts of things. But, the main thing here is we're talking about getting through a mortgage broker, the best option for you. And then they will also know all this sort of stuff, so that when you are getting your leveraging into the market, you're going to get the best help by using the right people and outsourcing it. Of course, you can do everything yourself, but you outsource it, like you outsource your property purchase to people like myself as a buyer's advocate. Right. So real estate, which is the second point. Now, what sort of real estate is there that you can buy? Well, you can buy land. And, unfortunately, our land tax over here, when you do buy it, or if it sits vacant and it's not producing an income, you can buy the land, and it depends on what you want. You can build on it later, depending on what your circumstances are like. But a land component in a property purchase is really important, because if you're buying an apartment, there's no land with it. And when there's no land, you're really buying a piece of space up there somewhere. You can have a new build, so that's land and home. You can buy an established home. You can buy a unit or townhouse. You can buy a flat or apartment. And all these different types of real estate that you buy, people buy them, they're not necessarily good for everyone, but they do serve a purpose. So flats and apartments sort of tend to avoid, but if you want to lock up and leave them and go overseas, well, you don't have the maintenance and the rest of it, but you do have, the upkeep in, your body corporate fees or your strata fees, or there's all sorts of different things. But apartments have got both rates and fees on top for their maintenance. You can buy special purpose residential. Now, special purpose residential, there's a few of them. You can buy a home which could become a dental practice, or and still have a residence behind it. So they're usually on main roads and things like that. And you can sometimes buy them, at a good rate because of, the main road access and, your vision and, your ability to get that done. But there's special purpose residentials, like, milk bars and stuff like that. And a new one, of course, is the special disability accommodation, SDA or NDIS type investments. They also fall under that category. Rooming houses, which is like shared housing. I've had a fair bit of experience with those. If you're buying them in the right positions, so they're near, say, a university, a hospital, somewhere where the demand is high, you can get some good returns on those furnished rooming houses, and they're available all over Australia. You can buy a development site, in which case, it might already be approved with plans and permits and everything ready to develop, or it's got the potential for it to be developed. So even if you're buying an established home, if the land's not big enough, you can't develop it. So a development site is worth more once the approval goes through. So if you buy, and there's a few people that are out there teaching just to concentrate on these things, but developers are pulled out of the market, unfortunately. If you look at the figures, everything's going backwards. But small developments, which is things that I can help with, for 2 dual occupancy, which is good because you're not overcommitting, and you can turn them over pretty quick. So you can buy property which has that aspect to it. Of course, you can buy commercial and mixed zone using. So each property itself has got a zoning on what you can actually use it for. So if it has a change in zones, and this is particularly for Victoria, since the new land tax laws have come in, if they go along and they rezone you, you have to pay windfall tax, which is something you could talk about with the accountants, but it's terrible. But anyway, the zoning does affect the real estate value. So if the zone changes or is about to change, and let's say it's gone from rural to residential, the price of that land goes up. And at the moment, if you the current ones, and you'd have to go to the State Revenue Office to have a look at it for the land tax. If you make 100,000, they don't care. But if you make between 100 and 500,000, windfall appreciation in the land, they want 62.5%, and if it's over 500,000, they want 50%. So you've got to look at the zoning, how you invest, and you've got to be aware of the rules that are around it. And this is what I mean when I say, you come to someone like myself, which is a buyer's advocate. We're an advocate for you that understands these sorts of things, so that when you are looking at the real estate, you get informed, and then obviously you get someone with experience that can also do negotiating and stuff for you, but give you the knowledge before you get into it. So it's something that is important and overlooked. And of course, why you're investing in property, there's all these different things that you can invest in. So everybody's different, and that's why we only work to buyers' briefs. You can't go out and just buy everything. It's going to be specific for what you want. It's going to suit your purpose, depending on what you want as the end result. So keeping the end result in mind. Residence. Now, this one's important. So you're buying somewhere to live. That's your residence. So where do you want to live? Now, your preference of where you want to live might not meet your budget. So, you want to buy a house, and it has to be out in the burbs, and, in a location that's affordable to you. but it's not your actual preference of where you want to live. So you've got to look at that question and, decide where you want to live, what your preferences are, and what your budget allows. And then you've got to take other things into consideration for your residence. And that's your commute time, the time it takes you to go wherever you need to go for work or whatever it is you need to do, your commute time from where you live to where you go, or your downtime. Now, your downtime could be important because you might want to live on, a larger parcel of land and, have, like 2 or 3 acres or whatever it is, but it might be a long way away for you to get to where you need to go. So it could be an hour's drive. You look at your amenities, so the things that are around you, and that could be things like, maybe sporting stadiums, train stations, bus stations, all sorts of things that you might want to have as amenities around you, and that, swimming pools and whatever. Or do you want to live close to your relatives and friends, so that's another consideration to take into account for your residence. Your investment prospects. Now, this one I think is important. It's overlooked. You've been putting a lot of money into your residence where you live. Is it a good investment as well? So you've got to look at that, or what your out-of-pockets are, what it's actually going to cost you to live where you want to live, and how that's going to affect your budget. It's another thing that you want to take into account with your residence. And then, of course, you can live anywhere, but then the aspects of where you live, the light, the scenery, the view, what you see, what your neighbourhood vibe's like, all those things you might want to have a look at, or at least, examine what it's like to live in that area, and whether you're living, if it's on a hill, if it's sloping backwards, then you can, take advantage of the build that's there and have, basement and single levels and all sorts of things that you might get, and that might give you a view. So when you're looking at a residence, particularly if you're building and you can choose what you want to have the aspects of the light, the scenery, the views, and of course you want to be in the right neighbourhood. So there's a lot of things to take into account for a residence, not just the budget. Okay? There's all those other things that you should be looking at in order to offer residents with lifestyle that suits your particular needs, and everyone's different. Capital growth. Now, that's really supply versus demand as well. If there's a lot of people wanting to get into an area, the price goes up. So the demand is high, the supply is going to always be limited. If the demand is higher than the supply, the price goes up. Generally, that's one of the key indicators that you want to look at for capital growth, but there are others. There are lots of others, and we'll go through some of them. So the capital cities, you've got Brisbane. Now, that's had some great growth. Sydney, it's lagging. Melbourne, lagging in growth. Hobart, down the bottom end. Adelaide's got a consistent growth, good market. You've got Perth, Darwin, Canberra. All of those capital cities have got different growth rates. What's happening in one is different to another. And there's, differences in the median prices and the different suburbs. Not that there's good investments in all of them, but you also need to look at the land tax holdings, which makes Victoria not a real good place when you add the numbers up. When you're looking at the numbers, there still are investments that you can make here, but depending on what your needs are. But generally, if you're just looking at numbers, the numbers are better elsewhere. Because the land tax and holding costs vary as well, and you want to take those into account as well when you're looking at what you're investing in. Then there's regional areas. Now, the sea change, that's one that I cover along the Mornington Peninsula, beautiful part of the world. There's 14 golf courses there, and if you're a golfer, it's good. If you're a swimmer or a surfer or just love nature, it's a great part of the world, the Mornington Peninsula. And I've owned property there for over 40 years, different ones, different things. So there's a coastal sea change here in Victoria, which I service directly, or there's the sea changes you can get up in Queensland, and there's some beautiful, beautiful vegetation and views and things that you can get in a coastal sea change. A rural tree change is also beautiful, fresh, vibrant, and different people have different needs, but there's areas that you can invest in, and there's a lot of people old like me that are downsizing and running into sea and tree changes that are pushing the prices up a little. But when you do invest there, you want to have economic diversity. So you might have a mining town, and the rents that you get might be really high, but then if the mine closes down, then nobody wants the house anymore. So a lot of those things I tend to shy away from. But you want economic diversity so that there's different types of employment in that area, and generally, if you are looking at rural areas, you want it to be at least around the 25, 30,000. Really, 30,000 is good, and you want to see some population growth. You want to see infrastructure spending money coming into that community from government, roads, and builds, and hospitals and airports and things like that. That sort of infrastructure spending in regional areas can produce capital growth. You want to be careful of flooding and bushfire, and they can also be quite expensive to insure. You want to look at the days on market, and if they're less than 30 days on the market's moving nicely. If it's 60 days, it's still moving. But the days on market is a metric which is important that we look at when we're analysing suburbs for potential growth. You want to look at the vacancy rate. So if you're an investor, and the vacancy rate's going to be important. You want it to be small so that you can rent your property out. And then you want to have a lot of statistical analysis, and the AI can help that, and it makes life good. Not that I'm a big fan of the scary part of the AI, but it's also quite useful because productivity, just things happen quickly. So if you're looking at investment, you want to look at your tax planning and returns. Now, you don't invest just for tax, but you'd want to have an accountant, and we have accountants on our preferred suppliers that can help you with all sorts of different things relating to the investment. A financial advisor, we have financial advisors on our preferred suppliers. Some really good ones that can help you there. Depreciation and tax. Now, some people, and I'm sick of seeing them on Facebook, buy this, pay your house off in 10 years, using depreciation and tax. Well, that changes your capital gains tax at the end by, when you depreciate the property, and it can be really good, and it's good for investments, and it'll suit some people. And you need a quantity surveyor. You want to be looking at the holding costs of the property, so things like maintenance and other things that you want to take into account with your investments, and that repairs and renovations that you may need to do will affect the performance of the investment. So with the investment, you want to look at the income generated and the equity generated. So the equity is the capital growth. A house was worth, say, 500,000, and then it becomes 600,000. well, the equity that's generated is 100,000. So you want to look at, your capital growth or the equity that's in that property. If you've held it for a number of years and it's gone up 60%, then you've got 60% equity. You could take 40% of the value of the house out to buy something else if you've got equity in one property. So that's part of the investment. You want to look at subdivision, to increase the asset worth. So if you're buying, a home that you can subdivide, so you can put 2 on it, even without building, you've made some money. Other projects such as infrastructure, hospitals, airports, roads, shopping complex, industrial builds, benefiting your property location and desirability. So as it grows, you would hope that will help to increase its value over time. And these things are important markers that we look at in investment. It's first of all sitting down and having a chat to see what suits everybody. But with our network of people, we can make sure that you buy right, because we're the buy right advocates. So income. Now, you see all these ads and they don't take into account everything, and it's sort of a little bit annoying. But anyway, obviously, when you're looking at the income, you want to look at the rental yields, and they vary from suburb to suburb. So it's important to get your suburbs and where you're investing right, and of course the property type as well. You can sometimes get good rental yields off, units and flats, and depends on when you look at the numbers, run your numbers. And it's expressed as a percentage of the purchase price. So let's say we're buying something for $450, paying $480 per week, minus 5% management, then it would be 480 times 52 times 0.95. We've taken the 5% off. It's 23,700. You subtract the rates and insurance and say 3.5, leaves you that. So you're approximately getting 4.5% return. Once you take the rental yield into account, and the expenses are like your management fees, your rates, body corporate, insurance, repairs, additional letting fees, tribunal fees, which you can sometimes come up with. Depreciation and tax planning. So you need a quantity surveyor, you need the year that's built is important from when it starts, renovations, year of completion. That can actually lower your personal tax, which is great. Quantity surveyors fees for preparing the depreciation schedule as well. It depends how long into the depreciation it is. You need to do some planning for tax and GST. Will the property be sold or rented? Because sometimes you want to buy and flip. Complicated. Should it be consulted first with an accountant? Is G applicable to the sale price? Is the G to refund on goods and services rendered in the construction phase? So if you're looking at those sorts of things, I'm not going to get involved with them. You've got to go and see the professionals and understand what's involved there. And we can help you with our preferred panel of preferred suppliers. Now, the downsizing accommodation. Look, it's a difficult market. I understand that. A lot of people will say that, that you're going to carry me out of here in a wooden box. I've heard so many times. But look, there's a lot of benefits to downsizing. You free up equity without borrowing. And I heard today, there's up to a quarter of the purchases that are being made in Queensland. I think it was Queensland, 23% or something like that, without borrowing. So there's not a bank involved. And the person saying it, of course, was the CEO of PEXA, which is the exchange on the contracts. But anyway, that is important. Without borrowing, you're freeing up equity. So, if you're living in a a 4-bedroom home, let's say the kids are gone, or 3-bedroom home, the kids are gone. It's big, it needs a lot of maintenance, or you're old, you've got a pension, and you know that's your only asset, and you know you're worried about what can happen with that. Downsizing can be a really good thing to provide a better lifestyle, less maintenance, better quality housing. So you know you don't have to do repairs and stuff on the house. You clean it up, and we can help with that as well. In fact, all the difficult parts of downsizing we take care of, and I think you know, minimalising, reducing clutter, all that sort of stuff, removals, furniture, staging, and then you've got financial benefits from there. So with downsizing, you can put some money from the sale of the house into super, which you wouldn't otherwise be able to get in there, and you can have some cash. You can do that holiday you've never done. There's government incentives for it as well. Including government incentives on the purchase. You can reduce, you don't have to pay stamp duty, you can put money into super. There's a lot of great things about downsizing. So go to BuyRightAdvocates.homes and book a 15-minute discovery call to see whether or not we can help you with downsizing, or someone that you know that might want to downsize. There's certainly a lot of benefits that can come out of that, a lot of government incentives there. We can help with, you know, you can run a pension off, you know, putting money into super if that's something that suits you and stuff. But there's a lot of benefits to downsizing, because now I'm going through the things that are bad. Okay, it's hard work. We know it's hard work both mentally and physically, trying to let go of the memories in the house, and it's a lot of hard work. Particularly letting go of the memories and the sentimental things. We understand all that. Leaving the neighbourhood, you know, somewhere that you've been used to and you've been there for a long time, that can be very daunting to leave. But I can assure you the pros outweigh the cons. And you've got this fear of the unknown, like what's going to happen to me, what's next, and all the rest of it, which comes with some people. And some people naturally just want to downsize. And we'd love to help them if they want to move from Victoria to Queensland, or if they want to move on to the peninsula, or if they want to do a tree change, or if you know someone that needs to downsize and, you know, they've been saying it, but we can make it happen for them, okay? Estate planning. Now, you know, your property assets are willable. And so having your money in property is safe as houses. Ownership can either be joint tenants or tenants in common. Now, if it's joint tenants, the surviving partner gets the rest of it. But if it's tenants in common, well, then you can will that. You can give it to whoever you want. Give it to your kids, give it to your grandkids, whatever you like. Your will and estate planning needs should be considered. Now, as a financial planner, I used to do that. I'm not doing that anymore, but can certainly put you through to the right people or a solicitor. You can have your assets held in trust. And, you know, that's a good thing because they're protected. And, you know, that can be a trust that's established when you pass away, okay? That can happen. So you need a trustee and an appointer and all sorts of different things when you look at your estate planning, and your property is one of those things. So government incentives for the downsizers. So as I was hinting at before, you can do a super contribution. You need to be over the age of 55 and held your home for 10 years or more. First home buyers, you haven't owned a home before and your purchase is less than $750, you'll get a stamp duty saving, and you may also qualify for a grant scheme. And your mortgage broker will know all about that, and we can help you all the way through there. Pensioners or healthcare card holders in Victoria, they've got very similar stamp duty concessions to the first home buyers. This varies from state to state, so this is peculiar, yeah. But you know, you can find all those things, and it's recommended that the mortgage broker, accountant, financial planner help you with that. But of course, we have got it all for you, and you know, you, again, book a call, and we can see whether we can help. The State Revenue Office in your state of purchase is where you can get the info. Okay, so BuyRightAdvocates is the name. BuyRightAdvocates.homes is the website. Sorry, it's not too flash. It's me and my wife that work together with the clients, and it's a free consultation, 15-minute discovery call. We've got limited spots, obviously. Calendars book out, and booking is essential. But if you're looking at buying property and you're looking for a buyer's advocate, and I like to use the word advocate better than a buyer's agent, although it's the same thing. You need to get a real estate license, and it's a real estate agent. But an advocate is someone that's in your corner. It's for your cause. So we want to know what your cause is. What is it that you want to do? What you want to buy some property, but what is it? What's it for? Why are you investing in property? So anyway, if you think I've added some value to you and you'd like to take it a step further, give us a booking on our calendar, and let's talk further. Till then, I'll see you when I see you.